Welcome to VidZet, your home for careful consideration of our common concerns. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. A number of states have legalized marijuana use. My home state of Florida recently legalized it for medical use, while others have gone further and legalized it for recreational activity. In other words, they've taken it to the same legal footing as alcohol. This legalization trend is in part due to the Cole Memo issued by Deputy Attorney General James Cole in 2013. This document directed U.S. attorneys to focus only on pot-related crimes that were connected to organized crime activity. It's possible to argue that this is a proper allocation of scarce legal resources, but at the same time, it opens the door to a mass disregard for federal law. Last week, Attorney General Sessions revoked the Cole Memo. To say that this sparked a controversy would be an understatement. Many have suggested that this is a return to an iron fist approach to marijuana. That is, if you got pot, you're going down. To suggest that is to completely misunderstand the fundamental fact that since 1980, all U.S. attorneys have worked under a set of guidelines on what cases they should pursue. Little stuff like possession for personal use isn't big enough to tie their office in knots. It's like not wearing your seatbelt. Legally, you can get ticketed, but the cops aren't going to bother with that unless they tag you for something else. The minor offense just comes along for the ride. Those who actually read the Sessions menu, all 3 paragraphs of it, find there's not that much there. Let's look at its key points. First, federal law prohibits marijuana cultivation, possession, and distribution. Second, since 1980, federal attorneys have had clear guidelines on how to prioritize crimes for prosecution. Finally, the Obama directive basically didn't add anything to the existing priorities, so there was no reason not to kill it. Now, is this a cannabis crackdown? There certainly are enough people proposing that it is, but the jury is out for the moment. We won't know until there are actual legal proceedings underway that let us know whether the Trump DOJ is going to go after the states. Now, there are a number of indications that suggest that Attorney General Sessions will pursue stronger enforcement. Some targets will be very easy. Every cannabis store in a recreational use state is trafficking in a prohibited substance and is thus in violation of federal law. Even if the drug is sold for medicinal purposes and the state defends the dispensary in court, there's a violation issue that could come up. Thus, we have a chill on cannabis commerce. We may also note that the Attorney General's comments about starting stronger enforcement color what's going on. He even wants to repeal the Rohrabacher-Blumenauer amendment that prevents the feds from interfering with medical marijuana. That's a strong indicator that we have a fight brewing, and that's a real problem on 2 fronts. The first one is federalism. Under the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution, if the feds aren't specifically given authority over something, managing that is purely up to the states. But the Supreme Court over the last century has treated the Constitution as optional and upheld many federal actions by using very fuzzy logic. On the other hand, we have recently seen hopeful signs that individual freedoms may be returning. The Hobby Lobby case made it clear that, at least in that circumstance, religious freedom is still alive. The Masterpiece Cake Shop case is being decided right now and will give us more information. And in Linder, that's an older decision, the court ruled that the feds have no power to regulate medical practice. Conceivably, this might tip the scales. But the best option here is for the Congress to completely deregulate marijuana. The Constitution doesn't give them the power to regulate it, and they should back off by changing the law. Then the states can individually deal with whether it makes sense to allow marijuana to be available to its citizens. When some states allow it and others don't, we'll have a true laboratory of democracy where outcomes will be observable. This raises the question of science. Is marijuana bad for you? The answer seems to be pretty clear. If you use it a lot of bad things can happen to you. The simplest is the reason people use it. You get high. You're intoxicated. Your judgment is altered, as are your moods, problem solving, memory, and ability to handle equipment. You can be arrested for DUI when high on pot because you aren't driving safely. There are lots of other bad things that can happen over longer periods of time. Mental abilities decline. You can get hallucinations. We can go on. In short, the stuff isn't good for you. But you already knew that, just like you knew that alcohol isn't good for you, but you still have wine at dinner, or you have beer with your friends while watching the game. Of course, if you drink a lot, you can get addicted, just like with any other intoxicant. And long-term alcohol causes liver and brain problems that can kill you. On the flip side, the early data out of Colorado suggests that legalizing pot reduces narcotic overdoses. So let's get real. It looks like the DOJ is about to crack down on pot. That's stupid. People will still want intoxicants and will find ways to get them. That will create more profit for criminals and won't do anything for society. Listen carefully to what the Drug Enforcement Administration itself says. Drug organizations possess and wield the ultimate instrument of corruption: money. The drug trade has access to almost unimaginable quantities of it. No commodity is so widely available, so cheap to produce, and as easily renewable as illegal drugs. They offer dazzling profit margins that allow criminals to generate illicit revenues on a scale without historical precedent. That's the DEA talking. Let's put this in plain English. Drug laws create unimaginable profits for criminals, and along the way they create massive violence as the drug providers work to protect those profits. As Sheriff Carter in Eureka would say, this can't be good. A crackdown will waste valuable resources in a doomed effort to limit our use of intoxicants. Remember Prohibition? Al Capone got rich because of Prohibition. The speakeasies with lots of hard liquor were a result of Prohibition. And when Prohibition was repealed, alcohol-related crime largely went away. These days, with freely available alcohol, a lot of people are drinking light beer with less alcohol. Albert Einstein famously defined insanity as doing something a second time while expecting a different result. Prohibition didn't work for alcohol. Why do we think it'll work for pot? We already know that it has created very strong strains of the drug, making it more dangerous. It's time to wake up and smell the bong. We can't get rid of pot. We can't even realistically limit who gets it. So why not simply legalize it? We're not saying that it's good for you. We're just recognizing that very bad things will come from trying to do the impossible by banning it. Please remember to support VidZet on Patreon, like us on Facebook, and follow @VidZet on Twitter. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Thanks for watching.